Starliner Media. Starliner Media presents Music Night at the Majestic with your host, Michael Boswell. Brought to you by...
When Signs and Displays Direct was launched 15 years ago, it featured a complete line of banners and stands, product displays, and more. Today, the company is known as SDD and is the industry leader in turnkey, no-inventory POP programs. SDD has expanded into branding programs for both corporate and private label, as well as consulting services for retail showroom design and more. Visit sdd-us.com. That's sdd-us.com. All right, time once again for Music Night at the Majestic. With us tonight, Gray DeLisle. Gray, welcome to the show.
Hi there. How you doing, Michael?
It's great to have you back.
I'm so happy to be here.
Tell you what, for those who saw, Gray, did one of our holiday extravaganza episodes, and for those of you who didn't, you missed out, so you want to go check that one out. But for those who aren't familiar with you, Gray, tell them a little bit both about your music, and let's start with your voice acting.
Well, I've been doing voice acting pretty much since I was a little girl, but paid since the late 90s. I was pretty young when I started. And yeah, I've been playing Daphne Blake on Scooby Doo. Jeepers, it's a creepy mystery since 2000. And I play Vicky on the Fairly Odd Parents. and Azula on Avatar: The Last Airbender. And Catwoman on the Arkham Batman games and cartoons and all kinds of things. And just Emily Elizabeth on Clifford the Big Red Dog. Clifford, where are you? And Martin Prince on The Simpsons. I don't want to have Bart's baby. Anyway, all kinds of stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the viewers who saw the holiday extravaganza with you, went to your IMDb page, and he sent in saying, I had no idea that I think at that time you had like 601 credits on IMDb.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It's been 20 years of doing voiceovers, so yeah, it's been...
Well, how did you get into that? Because I know that was one of the things that people were saying, if she comes back, ask her how she got into voice acting.
It's really hard to get into. It's like a teeny tiny little world. But I did stand-up comedy, which I still do. I have a special on Amazon called My First Comedy Special. It's free on Amazon Prime. So I was doing stand-up, but terribly, because I didn't have any real jokes written. I just did impressions that I had been doing since I was in high school. Or younger. And so the lady said, hey, while you're writing, it was this lady who used to run the comedy store named Mitzi Shore. She said, hun, you're cute, but you do great voices, but you need to write some jokes. So while you're writing your jokes, why don't you do some cartoons or something? You'd probably be really good at that. And so I was like, okay, where do you sign up for that? But it turned out to be like the hardest job to get into, but I just happened to luck into. I ended up getting the first thing I ever went out on, and it's sort of a catch-22. Like, they don't want to see you unless you've been in something, but they don't want to. But unless you've been in something, they don't want to see you. But you can't be in anything unless you've been seen. I mean, it's just like a whole thing. But I happened to book something, got really lucky, and then everybody started. I booked like 7 things in the first month or so that I was doing it. So I was like, wow, this is the best ever. It just sort of,
That's great.
I was starting to do on camera too. I had done like that 70s show and Caroline in the City. This is like back in the 90s, late 90s. And I was thinking about doing on camera work, but the voiceover just took off so fast that I was like panicking when I got on camera auditions, because I was like, but I have this voiceover job. And I finally just told my voiceover agent, I'm sorry, you're working so hard to get me auditions and I can't ever do them because I'm doing cartoons. So, but I was glad that I chose that route, because all my friends who were relying on their looks and everything, now that we've gotten older, they're like, oh man, Gray, I should have done what you did. Because it doesn't matter how old I get, I can still play little kids or old lady.
I also play little old ladies. Like on the Loud House, I play Scoots, and she's on a scooter all the time.
Anyways, and even when I was pregnant, I was playing teenagers and sexy ladies, and So it's been great because it's allowed me to be able to be with I have 3 children. I'm a single mom, and so it allows me to spend lots of time with them
Yeah.
and
How
work out of my garage during a pandemic.
always a plus.
Yes, yes. Oh gosh.
Well, given the diversity of characters that you voice, how do you prepare for each of those characters?
Well, they usually give you a picture of the character you're going to be playing. Today I played a little girl named Henrietta on a show. I was recording that while you were texting me. A show called It's Pony on Nickelodeon, and Henrietta kind of talks a little bit like this, and she just kind of had this like little unibrow and like kind of a little. She just kind of had like a very flat looking face, so I did sort of a flat voice for her. But yeah, I mean, I don't. Once I've done a character, it just sort of sticks in my head. So they don't often have to remind me of what it sounds like. Every now and again, if it's something where I've only done it like once or twice, I'm like, can I hear that again? I can't remember how that sounded. But mostly once I do it, it's just in there.
Yeah. Now, when you have to take over a role that had been done previously, such as Daphne,
Mm-hmm.
when that voice has already been established,
Yeah.
what kind of pressure are you under to try to bring your own thing to it, but then also stay true to what people already know so that they don't go, well, wait a minute, why does Daphne have a drawl now?
Well, that was a really hard one, Daphne, because I was really good friends with Mary Kay Bergman, the woman who did the voice before me. And she was sort of my mentor and my teacher. And she taught me how to do voice matching. So it was very strange and because she took her life. So it was a really, really tragic time in my life. Her husband had actually moved in with me because he couldn't go back to their house where it all happened. And it was just a really tumultuous time. And I remember the audition coming up, and I was just like, wait a minute, it's only been like 2 weeks or 3. I mean, how could they be casting? And they're like, and then I realized that, you know what, the world just goes on no matter what happens. And that was sort of when I kind of decided to put a lot of work into my family, because I thought, a job is a job, and it's a wonderful career. And I'm very grateful for this life that I have. It's a wonderful life. And I love all the fans. They've just made me feel so appreciated. And they're just, the cartoon fans are sort of the best fans in the world. Music fans pretty good too. but
we don't want to slight that part of the audience. You're on music night.
No, I know. But I just remember, like, I'm going to put a lot of work into my family and my children, and I'm not going to worry about every audition that comes up. I'm just, a job's a job, and, may the best person win. And but anyway, I didn't even really want to audition for the job, but her husband was like, great, she taught you everything she would, if anybody would, she would want you to do this, to carry this on. And it's so funny, this is kind of a weird thing to say, but like, I went to a medium and the guy was amazing, and he didn't know I didn't even use my real name when I booked the appointment. My friend booked the appointment for me, didn't use my real name. And he just kept saying, you have this really strange job. You do like a lot of different things. And there's just so many, he's like, okay, there's women's coming through. He's like, she does the same strange job. I don't know what it is, but it's this particular thing. And you took over a thing that she's doing. Like, she's handing you this little plant, and in your hands, it's become this big plant. Do you know what that means? And I was like, oh my God, yes. And then he said, he mentioned how he's like, it was really tragic. She said, she told him how, and that wasn't very publicized. So if he had dug on it online, it would have taken him a long time to find that out. Anyway, it was just, I couldn't believe it. But when she came across, she said, I'm so proud of you, and I love you. And I'm just, I'm so glad that you were the one to take over for me. And I was just like, I don't know. I mean, it was, who knows if it was a real thing or not, but it seemed very real to me at the time.
Well,
so
I would say
comforting.
there'd be way too many coincidences for it not to have some legitimacy.
And the crazy thing is that the actress who had played the Simpsons characters I ended up doing, she came across too, and I hadn't even booked those yet. And he said, okay, he's like, there's another lady who's here who's done the same kind of strange job, and I don't know what it is, but she says that you're going to do something that you're going to do for this lady what you did for the lady who came through before. And I was like, wow, okay. I said, well, he said, and her name is very strange. It's like a she or shushi, and the woman's name is Rusi.
Oh,
which is a
wow.
strange name. He's like, it's not a name I've ever heard before, but it's and I was like, I know who you're talking about. Oh my God. And he goes, yeah, so you're gonna take over one of her big things. And I mean, I never would have thought. I mean, The Simpsons is like a dream, to be
Right.
able to do that. So anyway, I'm a believer in all that stuff now since I talked to that guy. He blew my mind. But
Well,
anyway, it's nice to know that they live on,
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's a wild story.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, to tell
So
you what,
yeah, so it was hard to what my point was, I have ADHD I'm not sure if you could notice that. But it was really hard to prepare to have an audition for that. And I said, "You know what? I'm not going to even listen to her tape. I know her. I love her. I'm just going to do my best interpretation of Daphne." And it happened they said that they got chills, that they said, "Oh, great, you were just channeling her." So for a while I tried to be very true to Mary Kay. And now that I've been doing the voice for over 20 years now, I think I've gotten a little comfortable and I've just sort of brought my own little sass to it. But I feel her with me all the time when I do it. So
oh, that's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell you what, we touched on your stand-up. We've
Yes.
talked about your voice acting,
Yes.
your music. Since it's
Yeah.
music night, let's get into your music.
Yes, let's. Yeah, it's
How,
so
how,
funny because I would do when I was doing music more heavily, a while back, I was touring quite heavily and I would like do cartoons all week and then fly out, Friday morning to do a show Friday night, a show Saturday night, Sunday night I would fly back and start back and do my cartoons. And it was funny because when I would be at cartoon jobs, they would go, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "Oh, I do, I play the auto harp and I play this like mountain Appalachian folk rock," and they're like, "What?" And then I would be at the Strawberry Festival or whatever, and they're like, "Wait, what are you gonna?" And I was like, "Well, I got to get back because I'm doing cartoons." Like, "What do you mean cartoons?" I was like, "Well, I do." I have like three different personalities because people in the stand-up world are like, "Wait, what? You do cartoons and you play auto harp?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It's like I'm three different people." Oh gosh, yeah. And I sing these songs that are like very serious about death and people dying in a river and just all these those Appalachian
real pick me up type stuff.
yeah, those mountain songs. But right now I hadn't written any new songs in 15 years
Oh,
since I
wow.
had my oldest son who's just turned 14. So like since I got pregnant with him, I don't know, it was weird. I feel like all my creativity sort of went into my children. And then during lockdown, I just this every day I was like, "Oh my, I've written like 16 new songs, only one bad one. So 15 songs."
We won't talk about the 16th.
No, we won't talk about the 16th. And my son's very honest with me. He loved all my songs, but he's like, "That one, no." But every other one has been great. But yeah, so I've written all these new songs. So I had planned to put out this record of covers because every now and again I would do like a little video for YouTube and I would just put them out, just little covers of different people. My ex-husband wrote a really great song that I've always wanted to cover. And I was like, "Why don't we just do it? We're here. We'll do these little YouTube songs." So every now and again, since I wasn't writing new stuff, I would just celebrate a songwriter that I really love, someone I knew or someone who's famous. So I compiled about 10 of these little YouTube videos and fans kept saying, I play this all the time on YouTube, but there's no way to download it on iTunes or anything. Are you going to put it out? And finally, I just said, "You know what? Let's just make a record of all these YouTube videos I did." Because we did have high quality recordings. We were in a living room or something. But we did make high quality, nice little 4-track recordings. So we compiled them all, but then I wrote all these new songs. So now it's weird because I'm simultaneously promoting this covers record that hasn't even been released yet. It's called Borrowed. It's going to be out on Regional Records in this late spring. And but then I also am in the middle. I've got 6 songs in the can on this brand new record I'm going to be putting out at probably the end of the year or maybe early 2022, called Girl Without a Suitcase. So I've got, see, I'm always multitasking. Comedy, yeah, cartoons and doing 2 records at a time.
Well, the comedy balances out the sad Appalachian mountain songs.
Exactly. Yes. It's all about balance, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say the video that you mentioned is Valentine, correct? Is the
Yes.
current?
Yes. Yeah. We just put it out Valentine's Day and we did like heart-shaped CDs. Did you get one of those?
You know,
Maybe
you know what? Maureen sent it out,
Oh,
but with
good.
little
Oh,
delays because of the weather.
yes. Well, hopefully you enjoyed it. We just wanted to do something special for everybody, so we did these little heart-shaped CD covers and it's kind of cool. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, having watched the video for it, yeah, the sound, is great because it is
Oh,
so intimate, and your voice is such an ethereal, being, if you will, for
oh.
it. I thought that it really worked well. And Marvin produced it,
Mm,
correct?
yeah, Marvin produced it, and my ex-husband who wrote the song is playing guitar on it. It was funny because we changed a few lyrics, and it was like, and it's such an iconic song. My ex-husband is in a band called the Old 97s, and they've been around forever, and that was one of their big songs. And so it takes a big ego to go be like, just gonna change a few of those lyrics. But but I do feel like it's a little stronger. But he's so sweet. He has no ego at all. And one of the I was saying that that's really love when when your ex-wife asks if she can cover your song without even, you're not even, he didn't even ask me to. I was like, please let me cover your song. And it was funny because
But I'm gonna change the lyrics.
yeah, I know, but I am yeah, exactly. I had to put my stamp on it. But it's funny because when we very first started dating, we weren't even official yet. And I had that CD and I was playing it and I was kind of blasting his little song. And I pulled up to this stoplight and there was a guy with an old 97 sticker on his car. And I thought, oh, so I turned it up and I had my window down and he was like, ah, and I was like, yeah, I was like, my boyfriend's the bass player. And he goes, oh, I'm their A&R guy. And I was like, oh my God, I was so embarrassed because I thought, oh God, we're not even official yet. And now he's going to go back and tell Murray that I said, like, this girl's saying she's your girlfriend. Anyway, but Murray, thank goodness, thought it was funny. And then he asked me to marry him. So the rest is
Yeah.
history. And we have a 14-year-old son who's wonderful. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, as I say, no, the video is really nice. Greg's guitar work
Greg
on
Lee's.
there.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's the best steel player ever. Every time we want steel, I'm like, please let Greg be available. So yeah.
yeah. So it's just really nice, and we'll be linking to the video, as well. So, but
Great.
you mentioned playing auto harp. How
Yes.
did you get into music, and then how did you choose the auto harp?
Well, I was raised on hillbilly music. My dad, played the Carter Family for me quite a bit growing up, and Hank Williams and all that. And so, and those songs are so pretty simple, so you can figure them out real easily on the auto harp. And so, I was writing all these songs in my head, and then I was sharing writing credit with just basic guitar players who would just pick out like a few different chords. And I was like, wait a minute. And so Marvin was like, you should get an auto harp and just figure out your songs on your auto harp. Then you can hold on to all your songwriting credit because your chords are pretty simple. So I did that, and then I was like, wow, I should have been playing this all along. So I've been playing it now. I guess it's been like almost 20 years. Yeah, actually, it's been 21 years I've been playing the auto harp. You'd think I'd be better at it. It's pretty simple to play, but I still mess that up a lot. But I love the angelic sound of it. And I sometimes I play it, sometimes I don't. I mean, it's not on every single song, but it is sort of part of my signature sound now because it's been on so many of my records. So
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah. And there aren't a lot of auto harp players in town. I noticed that. I went to take a class once. I've been playing it for like 10 years. And then I went to McCabe's guitar shop in Los Angeles I was like, I'm gonna take an auto harp class. I bet I could get better at it. And in the middle of the guy's like, well, play me something. So I played him a song, like an original song. And he goes, hmm, you know what? You're playing it upside down. I was like, I am? Because I wasn't, most people play it like across their chest, but I had it like on its side and
Uh-huh.
he's like, I mean, it's working. So, and he's like, I don't really know if I really like your style and I don't know that I should change that. So I think you should just practice a lot how you're doing it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I have been. So, yeah, it's strange, but yeah, yeah, that's how it
Yeah.
happened.
Well, yeah, the your first album, how did you come to do the album, and what was your approach with that when you're going in to record for the first time? And
I recorded at a cartoon studio because I didn't know about music studios, and I had written about 10 songs. And I put out a little record called The Small Time, and I recorded it in a cartoon studio. And it's funny because I was dating a guitar player at the time, a really wonderful blues guitar singer-songwriter named Jake Labatz. I don't know if you know him, but he's a really good friend still of mine. And so I said, "Hey, will you come and just play, guitar for me while I've written all these songs in my head, and can I just explain them to you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," and he learned them, and they're pretty easy. So he learned them in just a minute, and then we would record one, and then he'd learn the next one, we'd record that, and so we just did the whole record in like a day or two.
Oh, wow.
And then someone said, "Hey, this guy Marvin Etzioni is a great producer. Maybe he could," because I wanted to add some horn on a certain part, and I wanted to add I had a little bit of a budget. I was using all my own money, and they were cutting me a deal because I was recording Clifford the Big Red Dog at that studio.
Mhm.
So when Marvin got into it, he kind of retroactively produced. I mean, he helped me with the order of the things, and he helped me with a few little things, but mostly he just said, "Let's make a record together after this." Like, because I was writing a bunch at the time. So then we made Home Wrecker, and that was on, I made my own little label, Hummingbird Records. So I put Home Wrecker out on Hummingbird as well. And then after that, I was going to do like a development deal with maybe Virgin, but then I found this label, Sugar Hill. I really loved Sugar Hill because Dolly Parton had just put out a really great bluegrass record on that label called The Grass is Blue. And I
Mhm.
loved that record so much. And they were just a nice small family label. And so I made a couple great records with them. I made uh, The Graceful Ghost, which is all very, very old time music that it's funny because I wrote a lot of the songs in my sleep. I would have a dream about a song, wake up and then think, is that a real song? And it wasn't a
Mhm.
real song. So it's mostly auto harp, and we recorded that in our house. We do a lot of house recording. This new record too is all in my ex-husband's living room. We have a very old house, so everything sounds good in that house. But yeah, so I did, The Graceful Ghost, and then I put out a record called Iron Flowers on Sugar Hill as well. And then I did a bootleg, just sort of like a live recording that I put out. And I don't know, ever since after I was not on Sugar Hill anymore, I found more success putting my records out myself. I've really never made any money on those records I made with labels. The only money I ever see is with the albums I've put out on my own. So not that, no, I mean, the cartoons pay pretty okay. So I mean, it's not like I'm like, so many musicians, I feel so bad now. It's hard to make money with Spotify and everything. I just discovered this girl that I just love. The Avett Brothers,
Mhm.
the Avett girl. I played a gig with them in Nashville when nobody really knew who they were, and the girls were going crazy. I loved it. They were so great and such nice guys. And I told my label at the time, Sugar Hill, I said, "You have to sign these guys. They're amazing." And they passed on them, and I'm like, "This is crazy." So of course, the more success they got, the more smug I became. But I stayed I stayed in contact with their. I just reconnected with their manager on Instagram the other day, and I was like, "Do you remember me?" And no, actually, no, he said, "Do you remember me?" And I was like, "Of course I remember you." And because I was really trying to help them get on Sugar Hill. I'm glad they didn't end up doing that. They're on to much bigger and better things. But he just said, "I just started managing this other girl that you'll love, and her name is Sierra Farrell. Have you heard of her?
No,
She
actually, I
is,
haven't.
oh my gosh. I'm gonna send you a link to YouTube.
Okay.
She is phenomenal, phenomenal. And I'm never blown away by people, but I was like, oh my, I can't get enough of this girl. I'm like YouTubing everything she's done. But anyway, my point is, somebody was like, "Why don't you just listen to her on Spotify?" And I was like, "Because nobody gets music on Spotify." So I messaged her manager, Dolph, who's also manages the Avett Brothers. I said, does she have a record? Because I want to give her the money. I don't want to go on Spotify. I want her to get the money. And he said her record's coming out in, soon. I guess in August, maybe. I'm not sure. Anyway, but I know I'm supposed to be promoting me, but but she's great, Sierra Farrell.
Well, there's
Uh,
nothing wrong with talking about other people. I
yes.
remember the first time that Carlene Carter, was on my old show that I used to
Oh
do,
yeah.
and she spent, I think, more time talking about Run CNW than
Oh
she
my
did, we had to, like, circle back to her album, so,
That won't
which
happen with actors, though. They just talk about themselves all the
yeah,
time.
yeah, but, I couldn't disagree with her, though, because that Run CNW stuff was wonderful.
Yes, yes. Yeah, because you see so much music, musicians see. So if a musician tells you to listen to something, that's always, I will definitely always listen to that, because it's a burden after all, because everyone's giving you their CD, or they're sending you links to, you're always inundated with material at gigs. I feel bad. Like when I used to tour, I would have so many of people's CDs in my bag, and I felt bad that I didn't, sometimes we would be driving and go, oh, let's listen to this CD this person, but that didn't happen that often because we were just sick of music. Sometimes we were just like, silence, let's just read a book, but if we like it, it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned the album Homewrecker.
Yes.
The cover for that album, I don't know if you were trying to get that, that look or whatever, but if you would have put like a Tammy Wynette album from the late 60s, and their ears would have been like right at home with it.
I was trying to be Bobby Gentry, and that I was just obsessed with Bobby Gentry at the time. I mean, everybody should be always obsessed with Bobby Gentry.
Yeah, nobody's going to argue that point.
But I was trying to channel that for that photo. So yeah, I had my big giant hair and my 60s makeup on. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And my friend Jackie Wolf designed that record cover, and I thought she did such a good job kind of capturing that Nashville feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, tell me this. What were your big musical influences when you were a kid?
Well, my dad played Hank Williams quite a bit in the Carter Family, and he also sang just old hillbilly songs that I've it's hard to even find. Like they're probably just passed down from like great grandparents.
Mhm.
But there's one called Two Little Boys that I've looked online for because I don't remember all the lyrics, and my dad can't remember all the lyrics either, and I can't even find anything online of the lyrics. It's such a rare song. But it's a beautiful song about these Civil War brothers, and it's really beautiful. Two little boys had two little toys. Anyway, but yeah, and then my mom was kind of a nut for the Beach Boys and Linda Ronstadt and Birds, and so I heard a lot of that too growing up, Graham Parsons and all that stuff. So it's a
Mhm.
good little mix. Good little mix. I also loved the Zombies, and like I really love that kind of power pop Brit, stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was do you remember what the first 45 you ever bought with your own money?
Oh gosh. It was Pat Benatar, Hit Me With Your Best Shot. Hit me with your best shot. Yeah. I remember the Chrysalis label spinning
Mhm.
on my little Mickey Mouse Mickey Mouse player in my room. I think I was like maybe like 11 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how about album? What was the first album that you bought?
Dirty Deeds. AC/DC. Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of a jump from the Carter Family
I know.
to AC/DC.
It was because my babysitter at the time said it was cool, and I remember I was I was little, but I remember I have really curly hair, but I kept trying to feather it like hers. She had the perfect like 1980s hair, and I really, but she's like, this is a cool record, and I think it was like 1981 or something, and so
Yeah. Now, do you still have the records that you bought as a kid?
No, no, I don't. But the funny thing is, I had that album before I had the 45 of Pat Benatar. So like, I don't, I went backward. I got like a full length album before I got the 45. I just remember the 45s were once I had my own little allowance, I could go to the mall and just buy one little thing, so.
Now,
That's what it
was that a big thing for you to take your allowance money, go to the record store?
Yeah, I remember buying Head on the Door too, The Cure when I was in high school, or like maybe junior high. Yeah, I remember their little record had come out, and I was like, "Oh, this is a great record." And it's so funny because in quarantine I've been playing songs for my son who's 14. He's got great music taste, but it's so funny when he plays something for me that he's like, "Oh, you got to listen to this really cool band I just discovered called the Pixies." I'm like, "Oh my god, okay." But it makes me proud. I'm like, "You have great taste in music." So,
Yeah, exactly. That's when you know you're doing a good job parenting, when your kid comes to you and says, "You know what? I
yes.
really like this band or this album."
I love the Innocence Mission. I was playing that for him because I was like, speaking of living room recordings, because I'm always I'm because I'm so busy with my cartoons, it's hard to tour. So people are like, is she a recluse or something? And I'm like, well, speaking of reclusive bands who record in their living room, the Innocence Mission. Anyway, so I was playing that for him, and he's like, oh, this reminds me of this band I just found the other day. It's called Mazzy Star. I was just like, I love you. Anyway, so
Fade Into You was such a
oh
fantastic
my God,
single.
I know, so great. It's so funny because her niece used to be uh, she used to work at the recording studio. Hope Sandoval's niece, like worked at the recording studio. So she was like, "Oh, you like my aunt's music?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then it was funny because the Jane's Addiction, like the in Spanish, there's the girl talking before one of the songs, like
Hmm.
Senora, sees. I don't know, it's something in Spanish. I can't remember, but that was the receptionist. She did that in the recording studio.
Oh,
I'm pretty
wow.
sure, unless she was just lying to me, she could have been full of it. I don't know. Who knows? It'd be funny if some lady's like, "No, that was me," and I'm just passing along this information I got from the receptionist.
I'm just picturing somebody sitting there going, what would be something really obscure that people wouldn't question if
Yes,
I
I
said it?
know.
And it
It's
could be
like
believable. Let's see if I can get
my
away with this.
my dad invented, invented the roach clip. I don't know.
Well,
Uh,
somebody's parent did.
somebody did, yeah. Then they forgot about it. Then someone else
Yeah.
invented. Oh my gosh.
Now,
Mm.
when you're listening to music now, how do you, besides your son, where do you find yourself finding new music?
Um, just people I really admire sending me something, going, "You'd love this." It's so funny because when Dolph sent me the Sierra Farrell link, I sent him Petunia and the Vipers. I just did a little movie with this man named Petunia, who's in a band called Petunia and the Vipers. And if you haven't heard them, they're really wonderful. He's sort of got like a yodely 1920s jazz kind of, but there's like a country fusion kind of thing in there. He's from Canada. The band is really wonderful. Kind of reminds me of Ray Kondo or something. Um,
Okay.
anyway, so I sent the guy that, and I was like, "Have you heard Petunia and the Vipers?" Because she reminds me of that a little bit. And then he was like, "Oh, here's a video of her and Petunia doing a video together." So it's like I said, we're all intermeshed, And I had sent Petunia her link too. He was like, "Oh yeah, no, I just did." I said, "Oh, I know. Her manager just sent me the video of you guys both." And so anyway,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, but people I admire, musicians and writers and just anyone, there's a few, you always have your key people that if they tell you about something, you're like, okay, this is something I'm definitely going to check out. So
Yeah,
yeah.
well, it's so hard for uh, either new artists or what would be referred to as heritage artists to get any exposure on radio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
so you have to rely on either people's referring them to you, or you have to be really proactive in going out and searching. Music blogs are a great place to. I found a lot of really good stuff that way. Interestingly, one of the places over the last 10 years or so has been TV commercials. I found a lot of interesting bands being used, for music beds for
Yeah.
TV spots.
Well, I hope that I get picked for a commercial. That would be amazing.
There you go. You might tune in to find your music suddenly a new
Yes,
Buick or something.
I will sell out in a heartbeat.
Everybody has a price, doesn't matter how high.
Yes, yes. I don't, just music is music. However it gets people, it's fine with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, tell you what, great. We actually are a little bit past our standard run time here,
This
but
was so
it's
fun,
it's it's it's
Michael.
it's great to have you back.
I'm happy to be here, and so thankful that you brought me back. And
Oh.
hello to everyone. And goodbye to everyone. Thank
You say
you.
hello, I say goodbye. Yeah.
Yes. That was a good
All
one.
right.
That's another good song. All right.
Yes, absolutely. Well, tell you what, tell everybody where they can find you, social media, what have you.
Yeah, on Instagram, I'm Grey DeLisle, GreyDelisle. And Twitter, Grey DeLisle. And Facebook's pretty much just for my children and my family. So you'd be bored to tears. Yeah, so much.
Oh, all right. Well, tell you what, everybody, you've got all the info on where you can find Gray. We're going to link to the video for Valentine. If you really like roots music, for lack of a better description, you'll really like, Gray's recording of it. So please go check that out. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Gray, thank you for being here. Everybody have a good night.
This has been Music Night at the Majestic with Michael Boswell. If you enjoyed this edition of Music Night at the Majestic, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and at musicnight.net. Music Night at the Majestic is a copyright production of Starliner Media. Any use of the accounts and descriptions of this program, its audio or visual content, without the express written consent of Starliner Media is prohibited. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll see you next time for Music Night at the Majestic. This is your announcer speaking. Starliner Media.
All right, great.
Thank you, Michael. That was so fun.
Oh, I've been looking forward to it. Say we had so much fun the first time around. So,
And I'm
but
wearing an actual dress instead of my robe this time. It's still sort of like a robe. It's a wrap dress. Anyway, but
Yeah.
thank you. I'm going to start my cartoons again now. Okay.
Yeah, well, I did.
sorry.
I didn't want to go much longer because I know we started late. I didn't want to intrude on the rest of your
I
stuff.
know. And I'm supposed to. That's okay. No problem. And I'm sorry about that funny text I sent you last week where you're like, do you need to reschedule? I was like, no, I'm sorry. That wasn't for you. Sorry. Yeah. But this was so fun. Thank you, Michael. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks, Gray. I'll talk to you soon.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
How do I get in?